This presentation of the Pritzker Military Museum and Library was created in partnership with the National Guard Association of Illinois.
Since before the founding of the Republic, the people of Illinois have willingly and voluntarily taken up arms to defend themselves, their homes, their families, and their neighbors from enemies. They personify the concept of the citizen soldier and exemplify the values of a free people who fight, when necessary, to defend both their own freedoms and those of others. The genesis of the Illinois National Guard dates to 1723, when a group of civilians at the small French trading village of Fort de Chartres banded together under the French government for protection. 50 years later, Illinois militiamen would defend the fledgling United States of America, when the Illinois militia helped seize British forts on both the Mississippi and Wabash rivers, securing those vital waterways for the Continental Army. In the War of 1812, Illinois citizen soldiers would once again face their old enemies, Britain and her allies, for control of the Great Lakes and protection of their homesteads, and prevail. In the early 19th century, the Illinois militia that would one day become the Illinois National Guard defended the new republic in every major conflict the United States encountered, including the Indian Wars, the Mexican War, and the Civil War. And they fought under the leadership of men who would become some of the most celebrated political and military figures of the century. Abraham Lincoln served 3 enlistments, 1 as a captain and 2 as a private soldier in the Illinois militia during the Black Hawk War of the 1830s. And in 1862, as the Civil War threatened to pull the United States apart, Ulysses S. Grant would take the command of the 21st Illinois Volunteer Infantry, beginning a career trajectory that would lead him into the supreme command of all Union forces to the end of the Confederacy at Appomattox and ultimately to the White House. From the battles of Cairo, Illinois, and Vicksburg, Mississippi, when they helped secure control of the crucial Mississippi River for the Union to Gettysburg, to Sherman's march to the sea, to the decisive surrender at Appomattox, the more than 250,000 Illinoisans who fought across to defend liberty were instrumental in ensuring victory for the Union. Illinois Guardsmen returned home from the war between the states with a fighting record to be proud of. Many did not return home at all. 35,000 Illinoisans fell in the Civil War. In 1877, the many Illinois units and regiments were, for the first time, called the Illinois National Guard. Their first overseas conflict took them to Cuba when the Spanish-American War broke out in 1898, fighting both by land and by sea to rid the New World of the last vestige of Spanish colonial control. It was during the 19th century that the Illinois National Guard began its tradition of not only facing foreign enemies, but of ensuring safety, stability, and security at home. From the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 to the Pullman strike riots of the 1880s and many other domestic threats, the Illinois National Guard has been a welcome sight to those whose lives and well-being have been put in jeopardy. During World War I, Illinoisans served bravely on the front lines, in the trenches, in the skies, and at sea. Members of Illinois' naval militia served aboard ships in the North Atlantic, helping to break the German blockade, and former Illinois cavalryman Reed Landis, after enlisting in the U.S. Army, became one of the war's first flying aces, with 12 victories under his belt by war's end. Distinguishing themselves in bloody conflicts like the Meuse-Argonne Offensive, Concesbois, and Bois de Fay, Illinois' soldiers were there when the United States first became a major power on the world stage, with 9 of them earning the Medal of Honor for their valor. Illinois would be called upon again in World War II, when the Axis powers threatened to engulf Europe in blood and darkness, and when Japanese dominion over the Pacific was a terrifying and genuine possibility. Members of the Illinois National Guard played a decisive role in both the European theater, where the 106th Cavalry rescued King Leopold of Belgium, and in the Pacific Theater, where Illinois Guardsmen fought in the bloody island-hopping campaign across the Pacific as the Allies wrested control of the ocean from the Japanese. From New Caledonia to the Japanese islands themselves, Illinois National Guardsmen fought in every major engagement, such as the 132nd Infantry Regiment's heroic struggle to help take Guadalcanal. They soon returned to East Asia to thwart Communist North Korea's bid to control the entire Korean peninsula. The Illinois National Guard fought to contain the communist threat across the world, as in the 1961 Berlin airlift, when 2 Illinois maintenance companies and 2 fighter squadrons deployed to Europe to defend the German capital from the Soviets, and again during the Vietnam conflict, when the 126th Supply and Service Company deployed to Vietnam. The Illinois National Guard has not just delivered defeat to our enemies overseas, it has delivered aid to those in dire straits across the world. In the 1990s, the Illinois National Guard performed humanitarian missions across Latin America, providing medical and dental care to more than 5,000 civilians and peacekeeping forces and medical personnel during the Balkan crisis for the protection of the embattled people of the former Yugoslavia. During Operation Desert Shield in the early 1990s and in the ongoing global war on terror, the Illinois National Guard again played its part, fighting in both Iraq and Afghanistan in the largest deployment of Illinois soldiers since World War II. Since the terror attacks on September 11, 2001, close to 20,000 Illinoisans have been deployed to the Middle East. Continuing in the tradition of the 33rd Division during World War I and World War II, the 33rd Infantry Brigade Combat Team was deployed for service in Afghanistan. We honor the service of all and pay particular tribute to the memory of the 34 Illinois Guardsmen who fell during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Now embarking on their 3rd century of service, the men and women of the Illinois National Guard remain a crucial part of the armed forces. A scarlet thread of courage, selfless devotion, and valor link today's Illinois National Guardsmen and Guardswomen to their predecessors at Fort Deschartres in 1723. Throughout their history, they have remained constant to the ideals of the citizen soldier, and in the future, they will remain vigilant in defense of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Special thanks to the Illinois State Military Museum.